which is rice fortification, and whether is it a magic bullet to deal with the chronic issue of malnutrition that is prevalent in India. I think most of us know that fortified food, and especially rice, is being pushed at and promoted by the government big time and quite aggressively since when the Prime Minister announced the distribution of fortified rice in most of the districts through PDS in 21. And many experts and doctors and public health activists have been warning of the serious consequences on health of such a blanket policy announcement, especially for the people with thalassemia and sickle cell disorders. In fact, if Asha Kisan Swaraj and Right to Food campaigns had conducted a fact-finding visit also in Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand. I think Raj Shekhar, who's with Right to Food campaign, is also here, who's part of the fact-finding mission, the visit. And they've been warning and writing letters since then. And more recently, the investigative report from Shri Girish Jalihal of the Reporters Collective brought to attention that the Union government has been ignoring the failure of the pilot projects and even the internal warnings that have been issued or conveyed to the government that to universalize this fortified rice may be a little premature. So to discuss this issue in depth, we have an expert panel today. To begin with, we have Satyajit Rath, who will be moderating and anchoring this discussion. And Satyajit Rath is the president of All India People Science Network. He's also a trained physician and pathologist and former faculty member of the National Institute of Immunology. And at present, he is Professor Emeritus at the Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research, Pune. We have another expert with us, Veena Shatrugna. She's a clinical nutritionist and is the former deputy director of National Institute of Nutrition, Hyderabad. And she's worked extensively in the area of women health and nutrition. We also have Soma Marla with us, and he's the former principal scientist at the Premier Institute of National Bureau of Plant Genetic Resources, which is under Indian Council for Agricultural Research. And he has had a long association with People Science Movement, AIPSN, and the farmers movements also. And then we have Vandana Prasad, who is a community pediatrician and public health professional. And she also has been long associated with networks such as, and in fact, since inception, with Jan Swasthya Abhiyan and Right to Food, and is the founder secretary of Public Health Resource Network, with which she is a technical advisor now. So with this, I would hand over to Satyajit.
धन्यवाद ऋचा। सभी साथियों को सलाम नमस्ते, गुड इवनिंग टू एवरीबॉडी। ऋचा ने चंद मुद्दे आज की चर्चा के बारे में रखे हुए हैं, तो मैं एक बिल्कुल 2 मिनट में एक व्यापक मुद्दा उठाना चाह रहा हूं, जो कि सिर्फ चावल के दृढ़ीकरण, सक्षमीकरण, सशक्तिकरण का मुद्दा नहीं है, बल्कि सार्वजनिक नीतियां सरकार कैसे बनाए और उन पर अमल कैसे करें, इसके बारे में है। So a basic issue about policies of this sort is, firstly, what is the evidence and the basis on which this policy has been developed? Secondly, what is the scale at which this policy has been thought through for implementation? And thirdly, what are the modalities of implementation of the policy such that it will achieve the maximal public good? ये जो 3 स्तर हैं, 3 सतहें हैं, एक तरीके से सार्वजनिक नीतियों के बारे में सोचने के दृष्टिकोण से, तो एक सबूत का मुद्दा है, एक स्केल का, मात्रा का मुद्दा है, और एक कौन इन नीतियों पे अमल करेगा और किस तरीके से अमल करेगा, इसका मुद्दा है। और मैं मानता हूं कि आज की जो चर्चा है वो एक बड़ी अहमियत रखती है, क्योंकि तीनों मुद्दों को लेकर चावल के, अनाज के सशक्तिकरण की जो नीति लाल किले से बतौर इश्तिहार के दी गई थी और अब अमल होने तक बात आई है, उसको लेकर तीनों मुद्दों पर मैं समझता हूं चर्चा होगी। और चूंकि ये तीनों मुद्दे सिर्फ इसको लेकर नहीं है कि चावल का दृढ़ीकरण, सशक्तिकरण हो या ना हो, बल्कि एक तरीके से व्यापक वैज्ञानिक दृष्टिकोण को लेकर सार्वजनिक नीतियां बनाने के मुद्दे हैं। इसलिए मैं मानता हूं कि आईपीएसएन के लिए ये बहुत बड़ी अहमियत रखती है चर्चा। So really my broader issue going beyond rice fortification is this: the framework in which we consider as AIPSN promoting scientific temper and wanting evidence and empirical basis to be the source of policies of the government and the state for the public good. This is why I think that this discussion is absolutely crucial, and we have three excellent speakers that Richa has already introduced. So without further ado, let me start by calling on the first, and I call Dr. Vandana Prasad. I will not reintroduce people since Richa has done a perfectly good job. Vandana ji, aapke haath mein hai.
Thank you so much, first and foremost, to AIPSN for organizing this. It's really much needed, and it's also one in a series of these kind of meetings that we've had with participants from various organizations and networks over the last. We might mute ourselves for the last 1 or 2 years. So even before starting, I just want to say a few words about the work that's been happening.
बाकी साथियों से गुजारिश है कि अपने आप को म्यूट कर दें कृपया।
This is an ongoing.
My apologies. Please go on. No, you're muted now.
I think organizers muted everybody. Yeah, so there has been a group of people that has been working on this issue quite concertedly for, a year or two. And I do want to just say a few words about the group and the kind of work that's been happening. Some of it Richa did mention. So essentially, I would say that ASHA, the network as mentioned by Richa, the Right to Food campaign, and many other individuals also and organizations, experts of various kinds, have been working in a very concerted way for about 1 or 2 years. So the fact finding was one in that series, and in fact there are a lot of people sitting here who were part of that fact finding. I was there, and of course Raj was there, and Haldar was there, and they're in the audience here. And in this group, amongst ASHA and Right to Food campaign, there are some people who've been coordinating and putting in a lot of effort. I just want to name them because they're also here and they might contribute in terms of factual details that are required, because the issue, as Satyajit ji said, is really related to facts and data and evidence and so on. So Rajshekhar from the Right to Food campaign, Ashlesha Khadse from ASHA, and also Rohit Parak, I'm not sure whether he's here, have been quite seminal in kind of coordinating the actions that have been happening. Amongst the actions, there's also a PIL. I'm one of the named petitioners in the PIL. Unfortunately, isko Supreme Court ne briefly kharij kiya tha because it insisted that even though it's a national policy that has come to bear upon 80 crore Indians, that we must go back to districts and to each and every separate ministry and to plead with them to give us a response, and then wait for that response, and then only petition the Supreme Court. And that's the process that's ongoing just now. So there are all these things that are happening. And as Richa mentioned, there's been this amazing public kind of expose, if you like, of this entire rice fortification thing by the reporters collective. And I would advise कि जो भी इस मुद्दे में रुचि रखता है वो ये reporters collective का जो 3 आर्टिकल का सीरीज है उसको खोल के देखें, क्योंकि इसमें बहुत डिटेल्ड बहुत मतलब प्रमाण के साथ दस्तावेजों को प्रस्तुत किया गया है, which is really basically helping us a lot in the struggle that's been ongoing on the ground and also within law, within policy frameworks, FSSAI and so on. So there's been a whole lot of this happening for the last 2 years. So that in terms of reflection on the process, because I think it's very important to showcase how networks have come together, how mobilization is happening. There's a lot of state level action that's happening, some in Kerala, and especially in the southern states where there's a fair degree of resistance, and others might reflect on that. Now, coming back to some very provocative issues, I feel that Satyajit raised, which, really provoked me to think a little bit more about what I was intending to say anyway. And just 1 or 2 things I just want to say in advance of, the things, the way I'd organized my few minutes that I have to speak just now. First and foremost, I think we have been raising issues about the process of policy making in public health for very strongly, and that has come very strongly with the COVID pandemic. And, I would take you back to these because the issues don't change. The issues of the lack of representation of public health as a domain being completely hegemonized by the medical professionals who really don't understand public health the way it should be understood, but yet pronounce policies that impact the entire country. That the lack of people's representation, the lack of concern for seeing how policies that are taken in a very kind of royal diktat kind of fashion are going to play out in implementation and affect the most vulnerable, the poorest of the poor, that this problem has been affecting all of public health issues and all public health policy making in our country. And this is just one more. This rice fortification business is just one more example of the same phenomenon. The phenomenon of the strongly centralized, fairly arrogant, medicalized views based on limited or shall I say selective use of evidence and science and technology to push a certain view all the way down without any discussion, without any debate, even where there is not the kind of urgency that COVID-19 had. Now anemia is not displaying the same kind of urgency. People are not dying every day from the severity of anemia. So there was the time and space to do this discussion. So this I'm going to just leave here because I think that this is a fundamental issue which Satyajit ji has talked about. What is the governance process in public health? What is the decision-making process? Who implements? Who does it finally benefit? In which profit-making and profiteering continues to be a kind of a cross-cutting theme. So these are cross-cutting themes in policy-making, not just in health, and we know that also. It's not just in health and public health. It is also in education. It is in every single frame of policy making in this country where the politics of, for whose benefit policies are made, they continue to basically impact what happens and the processes of what happens. And these processes, we can use rice fortification as a case study to exemplify the same old things. Now, क्योंकि ये मुद्दा बहुत ही विवादास्पद रहा है, इस पे बहुत चर्चा रही है, बहुत तर्क और it's been hotly debated. So I thought that I could just present 5 or 6 questions and treat them as kind of FAQ in an FAQ manner, give you some summary statements because there's no time really for me to get into evidence. But before getting into evidence, I also want to say कि जो arguments रहे हैं on both sides, it's not that they have been unscientific. So there is a politics of science also. I mean, there is no pure science and only one kind of science. Unfortunately, when we deal with public health policies, we understand that. So there is science on either side. There is evidence on either side. And there's a hierarchy of evidence also on either side. And there is a selective use of evidence on either side. And so it's really quite a mess in which we are trying to struggle to place some concerns and pro-people kind of issues and trying to bring out evidence to counter what has been the more dominant discourse in this rice fortification business. So first and foremost, there's a huge debate on, is anemia a public health problem at all? So my summary statement to this is, yes, it is a public health problem. Anemia हमारे देश में एक समस्या है, and you may or may not be surprised because a lot of people have been party to these discussions that many people who are opposing the fortification of rice with iron also believe that anemia is not really a very big problem in the country, whereas some of us, Veena would expand more. I'm going to actually leave the nutrition specific things to Veena to talk about. And also please stop me when my time is up, because I can continue for a day or two. Public health, anemia is a public health problem. And it's a public health problem. Why? Matlab, what is it? It is related to the lack of hemoglobin, either sufficiency or adequacy of function within our blood. And the causes of that are manifold. One major cause is dietary. हमारे देश में जिस तरीके का खान पान चल रहा है, उससे अनीमिया का निवारण नहीं हो सकता है. इस पे बहुत डेटा है, बहुत एविडेंस है. We are not having enough dietary diversity to be eating iron-rich foods in which animal-based proteins are very, very important. Please make a note of this. कि जो हमको मीट, मछली, लाल मीट, अंडा से मिलता है, उस तरह का आयरन हमको वेजिटेरियन सोर्सेस से नहीं मिलता है. Our country is very highly non-vegetarian, though we are trying to position it now as a predominantly vegetarian country. There has been a long-standing demand for eggs in midday meal and ICDS and so on and so forth. And unfortunately, we're going in the opposite way. So one major cause of anemia is the lack of dietary diversity, in which another major sub-cause is that we're simply eating too much cereal and not enough of iron-rich foods, as I talked about. So dietary diversity remains a huge problem. Plus, there are other forms of anemia like thalassemia and sickle cell anemia, जो बीमारी से होते हैं, जिसमें हमारे बॉडी का आयरन को यूज करके हीमोग्लोबिन बनाना या जो हमारे लाल कोशिकाएं होती हैं उसका जल्दी से उसका ब्रेकडाउन की वजह से हमारा अनीमिया होता है. So they are very specialized issues. They are very predominant in tribal areas, and they have a different form in which they have to be dealt with. तो इन सब का निवारण एक तरीके से नहीं हो सकता है. हमारा मानना यह है कि जो डाइट वाला अनीमिया है उसका भी निवारण राइस फोर्टिफिकेशन विद आयरन से अच्छी तरह से नहीं होता है. So this is another summary statement I'm making. Bear with me. कि rice fortification with iron is not a good means to approach even anemia that is coming from dietary insufficiency. So this is another thing that I want to say as an FAQ. Now, why am I saying it? I mean, there are a lot of countries that are using fortification in their food of a variety of types. So there's vitamin A fortification, there's B12 fortification, there's folic acid fortification, there's vitamin A fortification. All kinds of fortification is happening in the world. हमारे देश में advantage क्या है? We have a certain advantage. We want to retain that advantage. We have an advantage that most of our population is still not eating highly processed foods. जिस खाने को खराब करके फिर उसके अंदर fortificants डाल के हम लोग अपने पेट में डालते हैं. In other countries and in the unfortunately in the middle class and the rising upper middle class today in our country, that is still not the case for a majority of the population, and it is desirable that we retain that. जितना हम फ्रेश खाना, नॉर्मल खाना, अपने आसपास उगता हुआ खाना खा सकते हैं, उतना हमारे सेहत के लिए अच्छा होगा. अभी वो नौबत नहीं आई है कि हम सब पैकेट का खाना ही खाए जा रहे हैं, इसलिए उसको फोर्टिफाई करने की जरूरत है. हम कह रहे हैं इस स्थिति को सेव दिस फूड सिस्टम, save the food system in which we are able to eat fresh food, locally cultivated food, which is everybody agrees and understands it is far more healthy. Let us aspire to that rather than a very, very highly, centralized and machinized system of processing food, highly processing food, and then fortifying it. I know there'll be many people here who might disagree with me on this front, especially in AIPSN. Ki food processing itself, the higher the degree of food processing, the worse it is going to be for nutrition and health. I think this is also getting established now with much newer evidence as the world proceeds to more and more processing of food. So, हम चाहते क्या है कि ये डाइटरी डाइवर्सिटी की कमी से अगर आयरन हो रहा है और खाने की कमी से अगर आयरन डिफिशिएंसी का अनीमिया हो रहा है, तो आप उसकी पूर्ति करिए. अगर हम ये देख रहे हैं कि हमारा देश चावल खा खा के जी रहा है, चावल और अनाज खा खा के जी रहा है, हमें फल नहीं मिल रहा, हमें सब्जी नहीं मिल रही, हमें अंडा मांस मछली नहीं मिल रहा, हमें दूध नहीं मिल रहा, हमें दही नहीं मिल रहा, तो फिर उसी चीज को जो ज्यादा है हमारी डाइट में, उसी को फोर्टिफाई करके हम उसका समाधान क्यों निकालने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं? इज देयर एनी लॉजिक टू दैट? सो that remains a problem now. But why do policy makers prefer, even if I say no vested interest, why do policy makers prefer doing this? क्योंकि इसमें आपको बस एक रसायन डाल के कुछ प्रोडक्ट बना के उसका वितरण करना है. It seems to be easier than providing for dietary diversity. माने अच्छा खाना सबको मिले, इससे ये आसान लगता है. But is it that safe? Is it that useful? And is it going to have any outcomes? This is where the biggest part of the debate is. कि इससे ना तो कोई फायदा होगा, क्योंकि इसमें जो मात्रा जा रही है वो इतनी नहीं है कि वो सीवियर एनीमिया का कुछ कर सके. बहुत छोटी मात्रा में जा रहा है. उसको भी हमारा डेटा बता रहा है कि लोग चुप चुप के फेंक रहे हैं क्योंकि वो अच्छा नहीं लग रहा उनको खाने में. तो जिस कॉस्ट पे और जिस तरीके से हम खाने का पूरा टाल मटोल करके 80 करोड़ लोगों की थालियों को बदल के ये फोर्टिफाई करने की कोशिशें कर रहे हैं, उससे ना तो फायदा है और उससे कुछ नुकसान भी हो सकता है. जरूरी नहीं कि नुकसान होगा. ये जहरीला नहीं है, मैं उसको जहर नहीं कहती हूँ, ना मैं उस टर्मिनोलॉजी का यूज करती हूँ. लेकिन इससे हानि हो सकती है, ये सरकार भी मानती है और कह रही है. इससे हानि उन लोगों को हो सकती है जिनको थैलेसीमिया है, जिनको सिकल सेल एनीमिया है, जिनको हेपेटाइटिस है, जिनको लिवर डिजीज है, जिनको और तरह तरह की बीमारियां हैं. टीबी के शुरुआत में नहीं दिया जाता है, सीवियर एक्यूट मैलन्यूट्रिशन सैम की शुरुआत में नहीं दिया जाता है. किसी भी अक्यूट इलनेस में मतलब एक त्वरित तौर से जो कोई इंसान अभी बीमार पड़ा है उसको आयरन नहीं दिया जाता है. क्यों? आयरन का मेटाबॉलिज्म, आयरन को हमारी बॉडी जो है, आयोडीन अगर ज्यादा होता है बॉडी में तो वो पेशाब में आराम से निकल जाता है, फिर भी उसका अक्यूमुलेशन होता है, उससे प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है. आयरन निकलता नहीं है, वो जमा होता है. It accumulates in the form of ferritin and other storage products in our body, in the liver, in the spleen, in the kidneys, in all these organs, and causes damage. Slowly causes damage. This is of course much worse for thalassemics and sickle cell anemics, जिसके लिए जब ये वितरण शुरू भी किया था उस पे बोरी पे लेबल लगा दिया गया था कि भाई इंसान जिनको सिकल सेल एनीमिया थैलेसीमिया है वो बिना डॉक्टरी सलाह से इसको नहीं लेंगे. बोरी पे लगा हुआ. अब बोरी पे लगा हुआ का क्या इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ट्रांसलेशन होगा जब ये मध्याह्न भोजन में कहीं पक पकाया हुआ किसी बच्चे को मिल रहा है, या आंगनवाड़ी में पक पका के किसी बच्चे को मिल रहा है, या उसका वितरण कुछ किलो निकाल के बोरी से कोई पीडीएस राशन वाला कर रहा है. उसकी कोई चर्चा नहीं. मतलब आपने एक लेबल लगा देने से अपने मतलब अपनी कम्युनिटी के प्रति जो भी आपकी जिम्मेदारी थी, जो भी आपका कंसर्न था, चिंता थी, उसका आपने निवारण कर दिया कि भाई हमने तो लेबल लगा दिया, अब बाकी जनता देखे अपना. मीनिंग इट वाज meaningless. It didn't mean anything. So this is the painful part of the process, that in one fell swoop the government has tried to change the entire food system for rice. It has changed the plates of 80 crore Indians who depend on PDS, midday meal, and ICDS. And who are they? Of course, they're the people who need it the most, who are the poorest of the poor and the most malnourished. It has changed all that without due concern, without due diligence, without due consultation, without even adequate evidence. So the governance and so on and so forth, the failures of all that is very, very kind of acute. And it's just a painful exposition again of really not caring. The same way as you can do a lockdown in 4 days, in 4 hours, and not care about the implications upon, thousands and lakhs of workers. It's the same story here, that in one day you can just make this policy. Now, the last point I want to make is the latest in this is कि अब NFHS5 अनीमिया का डेटा नहीं ढूंढेगा. क्यों? क्योंकि वो अच्छे से नहीं कर रहा है. अच्छे से नहीं कर रहा है इसलिए हम कोई दूसरा शोध करेंगे, दूसरा रिसर्च करेंगे. चलिए, अच्छे से नहीं कर रहा था, बेसलाइन डेटा भी आपके पास नहीं है, लेकिन फिर भी आपने ये पॉलिसी अनाउंस कर दी. जब आपके पास इसका बेसलाइन डेटा तक नहीं है, आप खुद अपने डेटा का विश्वास नहीं कर रहे, तो एक तरफ जब आपके लिए फायदे की चीज है तो आप कहते हैं कि दिस इज नॉट डेमोन्स्ट्रेटेड वेल इनफ एज अ पब्लिक हेल्थ प्रॉब्लम, द डेटा इज नॉट गुड इनफ. या कोई दूसरा मतलब बाहरी कोई कह दे तो कहेंगे यू आर टार्निशिंग द इमेज ऑफ द कंट्री. तो एक तरफ से तो आप कह रहे हैं कि वी डोंट इवन नो दैट दिस इज अ पब्लिक हेल्थ प्रॉब्लम, एंड मेनी एक्सपर्ट्स आर सेइंग दैट आल्सो. ऑन द अदर हैंड, when it suited you, declared a policy on it to change, as I said, the food system and the food of crores and crores of needy Indians. So it's quite a mess, and there are many fights to be had in every direction. Anemia is a problem. We need to deal with it. We've been making very solid recommendations on how to go about it. Those recommendations are not being followed, whereas these kinds of policies, which have a profit-making element, it has a hegemonous element, it has a control element, and it has a lack of concern. And that is basically what we are fighting. So I'm just going to stop for now. Thank you.
थैंक यू वेरी मच वंदना जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। मैं बीच में नहीं बोलूंगा, जो कुछ मैंने कहना है संक्षेप में तीनों वक्ताओं के बाद में कहूंगा। आई विल नॉट come between you and the next speaker. So I call upon Dr. Veena Shatrugna to follow up with her comments, and we can move on to interesting discussions.
Thank
Veena.
you. Thank you, Dr. Rath. Well, I think Vandana has given us an overall picture of the public health disaster that has been let loose on the nation. And I think I'll draw you back on the issues of nutrition and how it's bound to play off in the next maybe decade or so. And before I do that, I just lay out the terrain. And as Vandana said, anemia is a public health problem, but it will disappear when data is not collected. So those are other issues we have to deal with when NFHS 6 reports are out and we will have no data on hemoglobin, but we will have scattered information across the country of maternal deaths. Remember, 1/3 of all maternal deaths earlier when I was a student and even later were directly, indirectly related to anemia, whether it was intrapartum hemorrhage, postpartum, or even problems during pregnancy. 1/3 of maternal deaths. So at one end, we are ignoring the potential of harm that anemia can do in the absence of a well set up system. And that's because, of course, we will have no data. The second thing is we did have the anemia prophylaxis program set up in the 70s because anemia was such a big program, such a big problem. Now, anemia prophylaxis program was very, very carefully done as an emergency measure. Give iron tablets for 90 days to pregnant women under supervision, more or less nurse or doctor, and then hopefully a woman went through pregnancy safely. At least a woman survived. She might have delivered a small baby, but that's for another day. Now, as a result of this anemia prophylaxis program, these 60 milligram tablets were also helped the whole nation understand. They were bad tablets. IDPL played foul with us. The whole system of procuring, etc., actually betrayed women more than anything else. Whether it was doctors, whether it was the bureaucrats, it was companies. We had tablets which just crumbled. Side effects, it was only ferrous sulfate, which caused lots and lots of problems. But it did one very important thing. Every pregnant woman in the remotest corner of this country realized that if you're pregnant, you have a right to some tablets. Now, what is the value of that? I don't think any social worker, anthropologist even is interested. But for a pregnant woman to know that she has a right to some antenatal care, some medication, some relief, because the families were limited by whatever they could do for a pregnant woman. Send her away to a mother's house or ask her to cope. Anyway, you've had a baby earlier. What is so great? You know the whole stories. But pregnant women always look forward to going and seeing a doctor or a nurse and getting tablets. Now, she wasn't aware about tablets, and terrible tablets perhaps, but the anemia prophylaxis program did one thing, and that was make the pregnant woman the center of a kind of narrative in the healthcare system. That is going to disappear. With the adding iron in rice, there'll be a kind of complacency where we will stop even checking whether a woman's hemoglobins are at the dangerous level. So this complacency might have large implications in the future. The other thing is anemia is not a problem which you can just deal by sprinkling iron all over. Anemia is really a clinical problem that needs care. Some of them are at 5. Even today, I've got information from the Northeast, from remote areas, women coming with 5-6 grams of hemoglobin. What is it they require? They require blood transfusion, they require injections, they require tablets, they require at different times of pregnancy, they require different kinds of support system. And that can't happen with the few milligrams of iron put in rice, right? So it continues to be a huge problem in the remote areas and the rural areas. And believe me, it is still 5-6 grams are coming into the Bangalore government hospitals from nearby rural areas. And that's not something which the rice will take care of. It requires, if they are in 3rd trimester, they require blood transfusion. If it's earlier, they might require injections. I mean, those who are clinicians know treatment of anemia is a clinical, it has to be done in a clinical setting. So to reduce something into a frivolous kind of a program, I call it frivolous and almost insensitive program when you see what pregnant women are going through. Of course, children have anemia, of course. You have even men who have tuberculosis, who have chronic diseases, have anemia. But I won't go into all that. Now, the other most surprising part is that the group that has advocated this didn't even consult a hematologist or a physician to know that hemoglobin is not formed with just a few iron molecules that get into your system. Hemoglobin is a very complex structure. It has proteins called globin and a range of other vitamins, minerals like vitamin C, copper. It requires riboflavin, B12, folic acid, etc. Now, this must come from food, because how many chemicals are you going to give women? The only time we give multivitamins to people are when they are going through a crisis, and multivitamin tablets are given for a short duration. We give it for the duration of the antibiotic use or for the sickness, but then you put them back on in a situation where they get all the nutrients, especially in the case of anemia, from food. A diverse food is the best. Of course, the tablets and medications can only be support system for short durations. In this case, hemoglobin is not going to be formed. There are studies which show that hemoglobins may rise by 1 gram over 1 year or 2 years. Now, pregnant women can't hold on to their pregnancies for 1 year or 2 years, obviously. The other thing that's important is that the protein part of the hemoglobin is of high quality protein. You need protein synthesis, you need transport protein, you need storage. All this must come from quality protein. The kind of food that we are eating in the rural areas doesn't give us more than just the pulse protein, which is nothing but a very unfortunate kind of protein which hardly gets digested, absorbed, or utilized because of its limiting amino acids. So the protein quality is so poor, the other nutrients are absent, that this iron which you consume, which men are going to consume through the rice, will travel down the intestines. But remember, iron is such a very, very reactive molecule. It damages the mucosa. In fact, less than 5% is absorbed even normally, because it's a very reactive molecule. The body protects itself from too much iron. And here we are going to add iron, which is going to damage the mucosa of the intestines, the microbiome. And today we know how important the intestinal microbiome is. These are the bacterial colonies down in the intestines, which contribute to the well-being of people. In fact, a whole range of systems are dependent on a healthy microbiome. Iron is going to damage it because iron is a very reactive molecule. We don't have enough, we will never do enough studies. Of course, in India, nothing will be studied rigorously. Our medical doctors are not trained to do research. They will very quickly look up Western literature. And what does the Western literature do? There is iron fortification. I am not denying it in the West. But remember, the rest of the dietaries are very, very good, in the sense they have adequate calories, proteins, and many other nutrients. In India, we are giving iron into hungry stomachs, and the damage to the mucosa will be much, much more. Think of ourselves taking an iron tablet on an empty stomach. But if you are 35 kilos, 40 kilos, you know what it will do to your mucosa. So no studies will be done in India. That is our USP. Nothing will be reported, collected, or published which is of value, right? The other thing is that as we go further down, we will see that we know undernutrition is our major problem. And undernutrition assumes that you give people food and not just cereals. It's bad enough we give only cereals in all, whether it's PDS, whether it is school lunch or ICDS. But that is because we hope that the money that they have in their hand will go to buy some eggs and oil and protective vegetables and fruits. That is assumption. Will be used for protective stuff. But now what we are going to do is add more cereal into their diet. And today we know excess cereals, carbohydrates, are precipitating diabetes and other chronic diseases. The iron that we give in the cereal will be stored as ferritin, which is directly related to the high incidence of diabetes and lipid changes and maybe blood pressures in the population. We already have such high incidence of these chronic diseases that this is going to contribute to it. I could, of course, go on and say, can we put this back? I don't know. Can we reverse this? I do not know. But I do wish the Tatas who spearheaded this, I don't know why people are scared of saying it. I think the Tatas should have been more rigorous as they are with their other projects, which are money spinners, and not played foul with a population as large as India. Yes, they did employ a doctor who was from the armed forces, and the armed forces are not the best places for treating undernourished people. They are healthy Jawans and officers who are, and I think the person who spearheaded it was a ex-armed forces doctor. And without consultations of the kind with nutritionists who deal with undernutrition, he was the one who set together a Tata Trust project of fortification. And then everybody else comes on board, and you know what happens if you read the latest write-ups that have come out. So I wish the Tatas would do something about reversing it. When they could take away the nano car from Bengal to Gujarat, I wish they could learn. I think we should ask them to reverse it. There's nothing wrong in saying we've made a mistake. And if we think Tatas are great nationalists, it's about time they proved it. They have better things to do if they really care for the population. The other thing to worry about is undernutrition is what the government should be addressing. And we don't need to explain what food for children and women and men is, what is the kind of food that they should be giving. So just giving one nutrient is like hoping that this one bullet will change the, as you said, whether it's lockdown, whether it is whatever it is, monetization, all these drama projects that came with high drama. I think this belongs to that group, and wish we could do something about putting aside this program and go back to addressing malnutrition. It is said that 11%, only 11% of children get a proper diet in this country, 11%. So we are going to add just iron to them. We know that unless there is adequacy of all nutrients, giving one nutrient is going to create problems when other nutrients are deficient. Now, this is not a very difficult science to understand, because one nutrient depends on the others to get enzymes, to get transport protein, the whole range of molecules you require for the utilization of any one nutrient that you give. That's why multivitamin tablets are always given for 1 week, 10 days, or maximum 15 days, because we know the other nutrients are not available. I think I'll stop with that and take on questions, if any. And thank you very much.
थैंक यू वेरी मच वीणा जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। जैसा कि मैंने शुरुआत में कहा, मैं वक्ताओं के बीच में नहीं बोलूंगा, मैं आखिर में, जैसे कि मैंने लिखा हुआ है, वक्ताओं ने जो मुद्दे किए हैं, अगर उन्होंने वो हिंदी में नहीं करे होंगे तो मैं मुद्दों का संक्षिप्त ब्यौरा हिंदी में देने की कोशिश करूंगा। लेकिन अभी के लिए हमने एक तरीके से ये सुना है कि इस नीति का परिप्रेक्ष्य क्या है। एक ओर से पोषण को लेकर इस नीति के बारे में कैसे सोचा जा सकता है, ये सुना है। अब तीसरे वक्ता हैं डॉक्टर सोम मारला, जो ये जो अनाज के दृढ़ीकरण की सशक्तिकरण की प्रक्रिया है, ये जो तकनीक है, इसको लेकर भी काफी बहस है, इसके भी काफी पर्याय हैं। देयर आर मेनी अल्टरनेटिव्स फॉर फोर्टिफिकेशन दैट हैव बीन डिस्कस्ड, यूज्ड, that have different implications in terms of implementation के कौन इस पर अमल करेगा, क्या कंपनियों के द्वारा अमल होगा, क्या छोटे उद्योजक इसमें कुछ हाथ बटा पाएंगे, क्या कोई जैव वैज्ञानिक तकनीक भी इसमें आ पाएगी। इस तरीके से काफी मुद्दे उठाए जा रहे हैं और इसलिए तकनीकी मुद्दों को लेकर मेरी आशा है कि डॉक्टर सोम मारला अपने साथ कुछ बात करेंगे। विद दैट डॉक्टर सोम मारला, ओवर टू यू फॉर योर कमेंट्स।
गुड इवनिंग, कैन यू हियर मी? गुड इवनिंग।
Yes, but not very well.
Yes, I will try my best. Okay, and good evening. Thanks for having me here, and I would like to touch.
No, we can't hear you anymore.
Oh, because the power is off in my area actually. That's why I am talking from my mobile phone. And can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Now we can hear you.
Okay. And as Veena ji has noted, balanced diet plays a major role in a country like ours, where the population basically is vegetarian, and also we are not in a position to provide balanced food. So what I suggest is
if you
going
don't
for
speak, Somji, if you don't speak in your mic directly, we can't hear you.
Okay. Now, can you hear me?
Yes, but as soon as you turn your head away, we can't hear you. That's why
okay. I will keep like this only. Okay. And what I would suggest is there are nutritious crops which somehow, up to some extent, balance the diet and bring out some of the daily portions of the recommended diet. And here I would suggest some of the cereals that have been fortified genetically, and green leafy vegetables, and also black beans, and also fruits and vegetables, and so on. So these balanced food I would suggest to include in PDS, I mean pulses, vegetable oils should also be included heavily along with millets, small millets in ball body midday meal, and also these PDS nutrition. And I would like to bring to your notice some of the green vegetables like बथुआ और पालक बोलते हैं इसको, और ये दिल्ली में, यूपी में काफी पॉपुलर है। ये ग्रीन वेजिटेबल है, और ये पालक नहीं तो ये चुलाई एक है, amaranthus is also a very good green vegetable where the composition is quite balanced, and they provide nearly up to 40% of recommended iron, and calcium, nearly 35% of calcium, and also 70% of vitamin A, and B6, nearly 37%, and so on. So apart from this, there are developed varieties, fortified varieties of crops, and fortunately or unfortunately, our Prime Minister Modi ji came to our institute 7 fortified crops, that varieties, nutrition rich varieties, our ICR has built actually. And of course, the pity is there was no further progress in that. Breeder seed and foundation seed for active wider cultivation of these crops, nor the seeds have not been disseminated in the public domain. This information, and it just a advertisement campaign it ended up. And so in coming to rice, there is CR Dan 315 that is very rich, twice rich in calcium, and it is 70% that meets the daily requirements of iron. And also there is गेहूं में wheat है, wheat में ये जिंक और ये प्रोटीन एनरिच्ड है. इसमें एनरिच्ड मतलब मैं मेरा कहना की है कि these are not chemically added any or fortified chemicals, but genes were identified using genome sequencing, and they were put into the regular classical breeding cycle, not through transgenic way. We know the transgenic rice, that is golden rice, that has been bred by IRI in Philippines and supported by Ford Foundation and others, and that is not working at all actually, because the content of vitamin A, carotene that has been put into it is many folds to the daily requirement, so it is being simply thrown away from the body. It's not being digested, and also now that the anthocyanin, that is also not in a way that the body could absorb 100%. And then coming to maize, we have is Pusa Vikas and also QPM 9. These are the varieties that are rich in zinc and also tryptophan and also B6. And these varieties are mostly for the पहाड़ों में जो है अल्मोड़ा में ये बनाए गए, और some part of the work has been done in my laboratory, and my PhD student has contributed to QPM 9 in that way. And apart from that, there's pearl millet, इसको मडुआ बोलते हैं हिंदी में, और इसमें जिंक और आयरन बहुत ज्यादा मात्रा में इसमें ये प्रोड्यूस किया जाता है. ये नई वेराइटीज में ये वेराइटी है HHB 299 है, और ये धन शक्ति है इसका नाम ये है. और कई स्टेट्स में ये कसावा और याम भी इस्तेमाल करते हैं भोजन में. इसमें DA 340 एक वेराइटी है, इसमें ऑरेंज cassava बोलते हैं. This is orange in color and rich of vitamin A and also rich in zinc and also tryptophan. And so sweet potato भी है, and sweet potato में ये 100% vitamin A है ये. और sweet potato नाइजीरिया में ट्रॉपिकल एग्रीकल्चर रिसर्च इंस्टीट्यूट ने ट्रांसजेनिक बनाई है, इससे भी ये काफी अच्छी है ये वेराइटी. और इसमें जिंक भी 70% जो डाइजेस्टेबल फॉर्म में है इसमें है. और फिंगर मिलेट है, रागी बोलते हैं तो इसको ये इसमें CFME1 एक है, CFME2 एक है, और इनमें कैल्शियम बहुत ज्यादा है. ये बच्चों के लिए बहुत अच्छा वैसे, और ये फूड ये इन्फेंट फूड्स में भी बहुत ज्यादा इस्तेमाल किया जा रहा है. ये नेस्ले जैसे कंपनियां भी बहुत खरीद रही किसानों से ये चीज. और उसमें मस्टर्ड में हमारे मस्टर्ड में गवर्नमेंट की रिकमेंडेशन है इसमें जो ओलिक एसिड है इसको डाली जाए और इसमें एनोरिक एसिड है इसको कम किए जाए। लेकिन ये फोर्टिफाइड मस्टर्ड ऑयल से नुकसान हो रहे हैं, कुछ डायरिया भी हो रहे हैं और ये पूरा इस्तेमाल नहीं हो रहे हैं बॉडी में। इसके लिए ये हमारे वेराइटीज बनाए हैं, इसमें मस्टर्ड 4-5 एक है वेराइटी वैसे। और इसके बिना जो वेराइटीज है हमारे आईसीआर ने बनाई है, इनको लैब से किसानों की तक पहुंचने की कोई मैकेनिज्म नहीं है आजकल। ये वर्ल्ड बैंक के रिकमेंडेशन के अनुसार बीच में जो एग्रीकल्चरल डेमोन्स्ट्रेटर्स हैं, जो एक्सटेंशन मैकेनिज्म है, पूरे को हटा दिया और अब जो हम वेराइटीज बनाते हैं, तैयारी करते हैं, एवॉल्व करते हैं, इनको किसानों तक पहुंचने का हमारे पास कोई साधन नहीं है। ये बहुत अनफॉर्चुनेट थिंग है और इसी कारण से जो वेराइटीज हमने बनाए हैं ये नहीं पहुंच पा रहे। और मेरा कहना ये है कि जो implement land reforms or at least distribute housing sites to agricultural poor, rural poor. इससे क्या होता है कि people will have small but kitchen gardens. अगर किचन गार्डन अपने ही हो जाते हैं तो एक्सेसिबल होता है और ये पहुंच जाते हैं बच्चों को और महिलाओं को भी खाने में ये चीजें हो जाती है। किचन गार्डन्स बहुत प्ले करते हैं। और ये दूसरा चीज है कि इसमें पीडीएस में वेजिटेबल ऑयल और पल्सेस भी इंक्लूड किया जाए और इससे कुछ बैलेंस डाइट बनती है और इसमें मिलेट्स भी डाली जाए और इसमें अगर हो सकता है तो कुछ बाकी ड्राई फ्रूट्स है, नहीं तो कुछ भी। And what I mean to say is our government strategy of fortification of rice is focused on shifting entirely the natural food system and processing system into corporate agri-business mode actually. इससे ज्यादा नुकसान होती है और पूरा हमारे जो फूड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन इंडस्ट्री है, जो अदानी सिलोस है, नहीं तो जो अंबानी का है, नहीं तो गार्डनर्स का, आईटीसी का जो भी बिग सुपरमार्केट चेन है, इसके अंदर ये चले जाती हैं और तो स्मॉल बिजनेस और आर्टिसन है, इनका रोल खत्म हो जाती है फूड प्रोसेसिंग। और इसमें ये ज्यादा फूड प्रोसेसिंग इंडस्ट्री एग्री बिजनेस के साथ जुड़ा हुआ और कारपोरेट के साथ जोड़ा हुआ है। इसको बढ़ाने के लिए एक गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसी। तो with this I conclude. If any questions, please put. Thank you.
थैंक यू वेरी मच सोमजीत, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। चूंकि कई साथियों ने सवाल पूछे हैं कि सारे मुद्दे अंग्रेजी और हिंदी दोनों भाषाओं में नहीं आए और आमतौर से अंग्रेजी ज्यादा सुनने में आई, तो इसलिए मैं बहुत संक्षेप में एक हिंदी ब्यौरा देने की कोशिश करूंगा। तो और ये सिर्फ बतौर मुद्दे हैं। एक तो सभीयों का मानना है कि एनीमिया एक सचमुच सार्वजनिक स्वास्थ्य की समस्या है। किसी भी वक्ता का ये कहना नहीं है कि ये समस्या ही नहीं है। वंदना जी ने एक मुद्दा उठाया जो बाकियों ने भी उस पर गौर किया है कि लोह आयरन मिलने के लिए मांसाहारी भोजन महत्वपूर्ण है। और हमारे साथी ये समझ पाएंगे कि ब्राह्मणवादी विचारधारा जो आजकल सामने आती है, उसका मांसाहार को लेकर नजरिया कैसा है, और वो मुद्दा भी इस बहस में सामने आएगा। फोर्टिफिकेशन, सक्षमीकरण किस लिए करना है, अनाज का हो या और किसी पोषण घटकों का हो, तो बेहतर भोजन की पहुंच से जो तत्व आसानी से प्राप्त नहीं होते सभी को, उन तत्वों के लिए फोर्टिफिकेशन करना एक बात है, और जो हो सकते हैं बेहतर भोजन पहुंच से, उनके लिए करना अलग बात है। जिन तत्वों को लेकर बहुत ज्यादा या बहुत कम मात्रा पहुंच सकती है, और बहुत ज्यादा या बहुत कम मात्रा में पहुंचने से नुकसान हो सकता है, उनको लेकर इस तरीके का फोर्टिफिकेशन नहीं हो, ये मुद्दा भी इस नीति में भूला गया है। खाद्य के संस्करण को लेकर, फूड प्रोसेसिंग को लेकर वंदना जी ने मुद्दा उठाया था, और हालांकि उन्होंने AIPSN के बारे में एक टिप्पणी की थी, तो मैं ये कहूंगा कि जनवादी प्रौद्योगिकियां जो सेकेंडरी फूड टेक्नोलॉजी, फूड प्रोसेसिंग करवाती है, उनका एक अलग परिप्रेक्ष्य है, और कॉर्पोरेट फूड प्रोसेसिंग जिनकी ओर उनका रुख है, वो एक अलग मसला है। तो इनमें बहुत आप में और हम में फर्क मैं मानता हूं नहीं है। लेकिन उन्होंने एक बड़ा महत्वपूर्ण मुद्दा उठाया कि केंद्रीकृत एक बिल्कुल ऐसी शासन की विचारधारा है जो कि तेजी से तालाबंदी करने में देखी गई थी, तेजी से डिमोनेटाइजेशन में, नोटाबंदी में देखी गई थी, उसी तरीके से ये नीति भी अपनाई गई है। बिल्कुल केंद्रीकृत नीति है, और नीति जाहिर होते ही यूं माना जाएगा कि समस्या का हल और निराकरण हो गया है। डॉक्टर वीना शत्रुघ्न ने यहीं से बात आगे ली कि हमारे पास, सरकार के पास इस सरकार डेटा, सबूत इकट्ठे ही नहीं करना चाह रही, सिर्फ सबूत ना इकट्ठे किए हुए समस्या का निराकरण करने के लिए एक केंद्रीकृत मुद्दा, एक केंद्रीकृत पॉलिसी, नीति बनाई जा रही है। सावधानी पूर्वक एक तरीके से सुपरवाइज्ड प्रोग्राम हो, तब हस्तक्षेप, एनीमिया जैसे कि एनीमिया प्रोफिलैक्सिस प्रोग्राम का जिक्र वीणा जी ने किया, उस तरीके का प्रोग्राम वो मानती हैं कि ज्यादा जरूरी है। अलबत्ता गर्भवती महिलाओं के लिए जो इस तरीके के कार्यक्रम हैं, वो किसी हद तक थोड़े से अलग हो सकते हैं, लेकिन उनका और इस तरीके के आयरन फोर्टिफिकेशन के कार्यक्रम का एक दूसरे के साथ कैसा नाता है, एक दूसरे का क्या प्रभाव पड़ेगा, इसको लेकर, जैसे कि बाकी किसी मुद्दे को लेकर सबूत इकट्ठा करने की सरकार क्षमता दिखा नहीं रहा, उसी तरीके का मुद्दा यहाँ भी उन्होंने उठाया। वीणा जी ने और भी एक बात कही कि जो इंटरवेंशन प्रोग्राम्स हैं, उनके बारे में एक व्यापक लाभ भी हो सकता है कि वो अवेयरनेस बढ़ाते हैं, वो काफी हद तक जागरूकता बढ़ाते हैं कि किसी तरीके की समस्या है और उस समस्या के लिए किसी तरीके का हल मौजूद है, मिल सकता है अगर मांग करें तो। राइस फोर्टिफिकेशन प्रोग्राम जैसे कार्यक्रम उस तरीके का जागरूकता बढ़ाने का योगदान नहीं करते, ये मैं समझता हूं काफी महत्वपूर्ण मुद्दा है। वीणा जी ने ये भी कहा कि कुपोषण की पृष्ठभूमि पर, चूंकि कुपोषण हमारे लिए एक साझा समस्या है, कुपोषण की पृष्ठभूमि पर इस तरीके से व्यापक पैमाने पर एक तत्व का, आयरन का फोर्टिफिकेशन करना, ये कहां तक लाभदायी रहेगा, इसको लेकर बहुत गहरे सवाल हैं। सोमया ने ये कहा कि संतुलित आहार का मुद्दा बहुत अहमियत रखता है, और इस तरीके का एक तत्व को लेकर फोर्टिफिकेशन कराने वाला कार्यक्रम संतुलित आहार को एक तरीके से पीछे छोड़ देता है, और संतुलित आहार के लिए सोम भाई ने कहा कि आहार की विविधता एक महत्वपूर्ण विशेषता है जिसे इस तरीके के फोर्टिफिकेशन प्रोग्राम संबोधित नहीं करते। और पोषण संवेदनशील कृषि के साथ अनाज के विविध अनाजों के आधार जैसे कि बाजरे के या ज्वार की अलग अलग नस्लों का जिक्र सोम भाई ने किया, पत्तेदार सब्जियों का भी जिक्र किया। विशेष रूप से पोषण के दृष्टिकोण से चुनी गिनी किस्मों के नस्लों के सब्जियों का, और उसके साथ साथ उन्होंने किचन गार्डन का भी जिक्र किया। और उनका मानना यह है कि जिस तरीके की तकनीक फोर्टिफिकेशन प्रोग्राम में सम्मिलित है इस सरकार के, ये कारपोरेट कृषि व्यवसाय मॉडल के आधार पर बनाई गई है। तो जहां तक मेरी समझ और मेरी भाषा पहुंच पाती है उतना संक्षेप में ब्यौरा देने की मैंने कोशिश की हुई है। इसके पहले कि मैं श्रोताओं से सवालों का संबोधन करूं, Dr. Krishnaswamy is with us. SK, are you there? SK? If he is there, since he has recently I'm asking for you to be unmuted. Can you do a very brief intervention?
Yeah, I got unmuted. Okay, yeah.
Since you have written recently on this matter, can you do a very brief intervention, please? And then I will call for questions from the audience for the speakers.
Yeah,
This made sense.
Yeah, thank you, Satyajit. It's just that I happened to write an article recently which has come out in People's Democracy. The main thrust of the article is that malnutrition and anemia are no doubt also health related, but they are very much socio-economic problems that affects basically people who are poor, having low education status and mostly rural areas. So what is needed is an overall holistic approach, and also that both the Cochrane review as well as the WHO, which quotes it, specifically say that this having this fortification is not going to improve or make a much change in the anemia status, because anemia, as somebody also mentioned, is not just, not having iron. Iron is a necessary sick condition, but not a sufficient condition. It is also related to other parameters. And so basically the thrust of the thing is that all this has happened because there are vested interests, corporate interests, like the Dutch state mines, which have come along with other international and national players who have a role in this, and they have sort of become part of this FSSAI had set up a separate fortified unit to look into this fortification center, and they became part of the center, and therefore they were able to lobby with the people in power. And so it's a large the amount of money that about 1,800 crores of profit annually they are expected to get. And this what the government is spending is about 2,400 crores annually till 2024. So it's a big that basically seems to be the driving force here. And now recently also I ended the article saying that the DSM has set up a unit for making kernels in Hyderabad, and basically the premixes are given by them for this fortification. And whether this fortification of rice is going to solve the malnutrition and anemia of our poor population or not, it is definitely making DSM not malnourished or anemic. So that's what I had concluded. And I think that is what has to be taken into account. That is, it's a rip-off from the corporates and has nothing to do with trying to solve the problem of the poor population anemia or malnutrition.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will ask for questions from the audience, comments from the audience. Please raise your hand. हाथ उठाइएगा और हम कोशिश करेंगे कि आपकी आवाज वक्ताओं तक पहुंचे. We will be willing to, we will be eager to hear from you. There are also chat box comments that have been coming, some of which are effectively questions. If any of the speakers would like to address some of those, please go ahead and address them while we are waiting for other questions. So let me flag especially two categories of questions that have been raised that are specific for iron supplementation from two very different points of view. एक सवाल ये उठा है बार बार कि ज्वार बाजरा जैसे मिलेट्स वाले जिन्हें मिलेट्स कहा जाता है, उन अनाजों से क्या पर्याप्त आयरन की मात्रा मिलती है? इसको लेकर कुछ स्पष्टीकरण वक्ताओं से आए. वंदना जी, if you would like to address that, we can start with that.
Possibly Veena might have more to say. See, it's not, nobody would say that any one cereal type is going to solve this problem. We've been talking about dietary diversity, and that's the key, that we need to be eating many different types of food at different times, and that is what we should aspire to. And fruits and vegetables are very important. Animal-based proteins are very important, as I said, maybe more than millets. I mean, Veena has been teaching us that millets is a high amount of fiber in it, and so, you know, iron absorption can be quite problematic with millets. But on the other hand, in our tribal communities where I've been working on malnutrition for about 10-15 years, even very young children are raised on millets, on locally grown millets. Of course, they continue to be anemic, but that's really because the quality of diets and dietary diversity is so low. So I think one point only I would like to make, that only cereals is not going to solve this problem. And so the solution should not be also thought of only in cereals. But that doesn't mean that we can't do better in eating the cereals that we're eating. I mean, we're eating vast amounts of cereal, and we are going to continue as a country to eat vast amounts of cereal. So instead of polished rice, can it be some better varieties of rice? Can we be eating red rice, black rice, locally grown, various types of rices instead of just one type of rice that is polished and denuded of all its nutrients? So that, I think it's a case of making incremental changes to our diets, which are leading us in the right directions, rather than looking for, if we say millets, that's also a shotgun magic bullet kind of statement. So let us stick to what we know. It is dietary diversity. It is the most freshest possible, less processed food that we can manage. It is a combination of, for those communities that are wanting to eat non-vegetarian foods, to making that happen. It is a case of having better menus in our public distribution systems, such as ICDS and midday meal system. That these are very standard demands, which, you know, they're very logical. They seem very real, very practical, very plausible, very logical. Unfortunately, we're just not spending. Even today, the cost of, you know, the resources that are allocated to an ICDS meal or a midday meal, they're not sufficient for this kind of thing. And in states, there has been so much resistance. I mean, Karnataka is a case in issue, but, you know, Tamil Nadu has been giving eggs, Odisha has been giving eggs, and Odisha has shown dramatic improvements, or relatively dramatic improvements in its stunting and so on. No, so I mean, how has that happened? Kerala is doing well in terms of our malnutrition indicators. So obviously there are things that are working also. We just need to learn from that and make it happen, and not jump to single things like one millet or one nutrient or one type of anything. That's the key that I would like to.
Thank you. पोषण की विविधता को लेकर पोषण के घटकों की पर्याप्ति मुक्ति और विविधता दोनों मुद्दों पर एक तरीके से व्यापक सोच और व्यापक उपाय होने चाहिए, ये वंदना जी ने कहा। डॉक्टर श्रीमा नायर कुछ कहना चाह रही थी, उन्हें अगर अनम्यूट करें तो वो अपना मुद्दा रख सकते।
Can I jump in here?
Can you give me a minute, please, Somai? Let
Yes, please.
Nair say.
Good evening. Thank you for unmuting me. With due respect to all the speakers and all the listeners who are listening, I have been reading all the articles, and we have one major example in India when we started fortifying salt with iodine. We couldn't give a lot of iodine to people to change goiter because it required iodized oil injections, and especially when you reach to secondary goiter. When you look at the masses as a public health approach, we look into cost-effective methods by which where people also consume that as a regular habit, and it takes slowly time to come out of that. We started, as far as I am concerned, I started saltization in 2007, quite aggressively for India, and still I'm continuing to train all the officers and people across the country. It took 10 years for us to, now we are not seeing much of those goiters. So it is not a magic wand by which when fortification would do something. Fortification is one of the major public health approaches by which we are trying to address the issue. Second is, we are not ever saying that people shouldn't consume various diets. Let us talk of Kerala and Odisha both, because I am a Keralite. Right now I'm in Kerala, and I did visit Odisha last year. So being a food security officer, I do go to a lot of places wherever government sends me. Whether it is a rice eating population, wheat eating population, or various millet consuming population, we look into a lot of aspects before we come to certain conclusions. Now, with reference to Kerala, since I am here, I did ask, when I get out, I'm a local person. I just go to a shop and do inquire about how people are consuming, what is the price, how much the price has been raised, etc., to understand what people can consume locally. So the vegetables are quite high here in Kerala. People are consuming, but people are not consuming to the extent where they used to consume 20 years back. This is the response from the shop vendors who are vegetable market people. At the same time, people are also taking fast food and things, especially the young generation. There is a big approach from the food commissioner here to advertise and publicize, and a lot of advocacy among school programs is going on. With reference to Odisha, what I saw was there was little bit poor capacity for purchasing, but I think government has taken that into consideration. If you look into the program of food security, they are given, if they are Aadhaar linked to the bank and to the system, they get 60 rupees for purchasing vegetables in 1 week. Now, we are not following up to see whether are they purchasing vegetables with those 60 rupees or not. That is a different aspect. But whether the program is in place or not, that is taken into account. Now, a major public health approach. And coming to the company of DSM, because I'm reading about DSM now quite actively, coming in various newspapers and articles. DSM is in India, I think, quite since a while. My best memory is 2011 onwards. And we have a unit in Vadodara. I belong to MS University Vadodara. And we have a DSM unit in Vadodara, where I did wheat fortification as an experiment, as a project from the University of Cornell. And we did it in the most vulnerable situations of the people. Dr. Sunita Chandorkar was a partner to me. And we have given our reports to our government also, as well as to the Cornell University also. So it is not that just we are trying to fortify one thing or trying to push it through the public or like trying to say that this has to be there or something. Why DSM has been put in Hyderabad as a major unit is we had a program called Vaibhav. In that, a lot of scientists who are Indian, who are in abroad countries were invited, who could do some technology transfer, and funding and technology transfer both has been done to Government of India.
Could you
Let
please
me complete
summarize
this.
yourself?
Yes, that's what I'm coming to. So all these things are taken into account, and rice, why rice? Basically, every Indian consumes at least 50 grams cooked rice once a meal at a minimal level. The 30% RDA is kept in such a way that no toxicity occurs, whether it is a thalassemia patient or a sickle cell anemia patient. I would like to interact further, but due to time limit, I'm winding here myself. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Veena ji?
May I respond to her?
Yes, go
Madam,
ahead.
yeah. See,
Go ahead.
Madam, I'm so glad that you're involved with all these programs, but there are 2 or 3 points you have made which are contradicting yourself. One is iodine fortification of salt was done during a desperate time when the railways could not carry iodized salt to the northeast. The rest of the country agreed to universal iodization because we had 40% goiter in the Himalayan region. Iodine is not stored in the body, it goes in the urine, and we know urinary iodine is a good indicator whether they're taking iodized salt or not. Iodine fortification must, of course, be reviewed because there are complaints of hyper and hypothyroidism, but it's not the same as iron. Iron does get stored in the body, it damages the microbiome, it increases ferritin levels without any data. Setting up a huge factory in Hyderabad, etc. They set up the nano factory in Calcutta. So what? In Bengal, they had to go away from there. I'm telling you, we have no data. There is to say there is a very good analysis of large number of studies to show that without other food nutrients, that is good quality protein, other vitamins, etc., one nutrient cannot change the world. And as a nutritionist, you are well aware that one food should provide large number of nutrients, and every nutrient must come from large number of foods. This is the principle of nutrition. You can't get one nutrient from rice. And now the millet mania is, I'm sorry to use the word mania because the government, whatever the government does is maniacal. Millets, I think people should eat if they are used to it, because I know of people who don't have the enzymes. If you've never eaten millets, you're going to land up with huge problems with discomfort, etc. So people are used to it, please eat. But that's not the solution. There is anemia in millet growing areas.
Veena ji, could you summarize, please?
You want me to summarize? I finished.
Okay.
So let's not mix up iodization with this. This is like, it's a clinical problem. Women die with anemia. Okay, so let's not undermine the importance of clinical care of people who are anemics.
Thank you. Vandana ji?
हाँ, ये एक मुद्दा जो बार बार आता है इस डिबेट में, उसको मैं ले लेना चाहती हूँ। चैट में भी बात आई है कि भाई अब हम सबको अच्छा खाना तो दे नहीं सकते क्योंकि हम गरीब देश है, मतलब उसका कॉस्ट बहुत ज्यादा है। श्रीमावो जी ऑल्सो, डॉक्टर श्रीमावो ऑल्सो सेड कि the cost of food has gone up. Now, of course, the cost of food has gone up, is astronomical. Inflation is astronomical. But is that something for us to just accept? हम ये कह रहे हैं ना कि इंटरवेंशन होना चाहिए, पॉलिसी इंटरवेंशन होना चाहिए। पॉलिसी इंटरवेंशन इस पे होना चाहिए ना कि जो पैसा आप खर्च कर रहे हैं फोर्टिफिकेशन में, वो आप किसी तरीके से इस फूड के मतलब कॉस्ट को घटाइए, जिससे कि लोग, आम जनता नॉर्मल अच्छा खाना खा सके। मतलब ये प्राइमरी फाइट है मेरे हिसाब से। ये कहना कि and no government today will acknowledge कि there is not enough resources. In fact, we are being positioned as an economic giant in the world. And the PM has never said there's lack of resources. No ministry ever says there's lack of resources. But when it comes to asking for a certain kind of intervention, which is decentralized, which will pass the money down the chain to small holdings, to small farmers, to small businesses, to small production units, to decentralized processing, there's never enough money. But where there's money for a centralized product, we are saying 2,800 crores. So I think cost of food is very high. Who is denying this? But that is not something to accept. That is something to fight for, because it's a basic human right to eat decent food. If 75 years into independence, when we are being positioned as a huge developmental giant by all, including the PM, we should not say that we are a country that is saying we will not be able to provide decent food for our children. I think that is very unfair, and that is something at least I as a citizen of the country, leave alone a doctor, pediatrician, whatever, as a citizen, we should fight this, that, you know, food is not affordable by the majority, like 11% dietary diversity. So food is not affordable, good food is not affordable by the majority, is a dire emergency.
Thank you. Dr. So Marla had a point to make. Sorry, Sombai.
Yes, that's fine. And the questions relating to pearl millet composition of micronutrients, the hybrid variety Dhan Shakti that has been developed, that has got 70 milligrams per kilogram of grain of iron, whereas 40 milligrams per kilogram of zinc it gives, and that is nearly 2/3 of the daily requirement of this. Also, in Palak, Batua especially, ICR has found that nearly 70% of iron is substituted, and also similar value for vitamin A, and nearly 42% of B6 and B12 and other B complex vitamins are also substituted in that, apart from magnesium. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other questions? Dr. Nair, I will unmute you, but I'm hoping to have a more diverse set of questions, and therefore I'm asking for other questions, if there are any. और कोई साथी सवाल पूछना चाहते हैं तो कृपया पूछिएगा.
So thank you. Two things I would like to say. One was the question Veena ma'am said. I'm a human physiologist, basically. I never would advocate anything which should go beyond what we can take as and accept it in our system. And ma'am, I would like to say iron doesn't get accumulated as the reports are coming in. Iron gets disseminated to various organs. We require 3000 mg per day for the entire body system to be very much functional. We are keeping cutoff at 12 mg. We would like to have the iron going really very well into the children, especially the pregnant women, for various reasons, which we all know. So the iron would get dissipated into the liver. It will go take up the hepcidin molecule. There are various transport systems which work in iron, and it gets oxidized. If at all, when we go very, very high, which is not going to happen in the upcoming any 5 years, which I am seeing the way it is moving, it will take its own time. And if at all it comes, it will enter into stercobilinogens, urobilinogens, and get excreted in the stool. I do teach physiology to masters and public health students. So this is one thing I wanted to say. There was another question, why DSM and why not any other companies? DSM has just done the technology transfer because they had the best technology transfer, that's all. The fund has been put by Government of India. Thank you so much, sir. So that's what I want to respond.
Thank you. This brings up the question of evidence, what the conversation has brought up so far. Do we have colleagues here from Asha who have looked at the Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand data with respect to the outcomes of fortification, perhaps? Is there anybody who can speak directly to evidence? Because that really would be very useful हमारे AIPSN के साथियों को इस पेचीदा मसले को लेकर सोचने के लिए अगर सबूतों के बारे में कोई कुछ कह पाए तो सबूतों में जितना how much of uncertainty is there is some evidence, at least based on a Cochrane review that I have seen, that seems to indicate that gains may be modest. So there are issues of that sort. Rather than simply say yes or no, I'm wondering if anybody can speak to evidence. Vandana ji, let me give you the...
Yeah, a few things. I mean, you've mentioned the Cochrane review that says that with current levels of evidence, it is not established that iron fortification is going to make an impact on anemia. That is how it stands. And there's new evidence coming up all the time, but of all the evidence that we've seen in the recent times, there are a few points I'd like to make. One is that the sampling for most studies is very careful to not take anybody in the sample with elevated levels of CRP. Anybody with acute infection is not taken. As I said, children with severe acute malnutrition are not included in most of these studies. The second thing is that many of the studies use serum ferritin levels as an outcome indicator rather than serum hemoglobin levels, which then require protein and so on and everything. That what Veena was saying, that it is not just, and serum ferritin does, as Srimavaji was also saying, does accumulate in the body. Now, the third thing, which is contentious and very interesting, is that as Dr. Nair was saying, and she's one of the researchers, by the way, and she has a study that has not been published. We're waiting for it to be published. It's not been peer reviewed, not been published. So we're waiting for those. She will say more about that. So there have been small sample sizes, and we have critiqued the evidence also. And there's a huge ASHA letter critiquing the evidence to FSSAI, to the government, and so on, which can be shared. I think, Ashleisha, you can share links to that in the... So evidence has been looked at quite carefully, whatever is available and whatever has been put on the FSSAI webpage and so on and so forth. The third thing about evidence, so one thing is that it is not taking people with acute infection, and the burden of disease in our country, I cannot underscore this sufficiently. Our country is a very, very unhealthy population. We either suffering from NCDs or we're suffering from infections. There's hardly any healthy population in the country. So if you take away everybody with elevated CRPs, everybody with acute conditions, everybody with SAM, then you have to really pick and choose who you want to fortify for. The last thing I want to say is that, as Dr. Nair pointed out, and many experts have been saying that the amount is so little in this rice. It's not really worth it to make this big difference in our food system for this small amount, which is not going to make any outcomes also. So they're saying, they use the argument to say that it's the amount is so minimal that there will be no toxicity. But then many experts also say the amount is so minimal that there will be no outcomes. And yet we're changing the food system. This is what is important. So we're changing a whole lot for very little gains, and gains that have not yet been established by research. Yes, there are some studies in Maharashtra and Gujarat going on, which have not, as I said, not been published. We are awaiting results and we'll evaluate those also.
Thank you. Dr. Nair, if you would like to...
Right.
Go ahead.
Correct. I wanted to respond to the Cochrane reviews. I have done DFS and published about 10 papers before I recommended it to the government. That can be used as one of the strategies. At that time also, I had a question whether do we want to replace it with the elemental iron which we are supplementing. I said no. This has to go only 5 grams to 7 grams in their diet regularly. That's all we are expecting. And it was helping us to keep the iron level in the body, but it did not augment the iron higher in a very large study which we conducted. We conducted the study in 550 pregnant women. So these results, which are genuine and which we share with the government, we look into all the aspects before we share. Number one. Number two, the Cochrane review, there was a Cochrane query for us to asking us a lot of questions. We gave all the answers to them. They did not publish any one study of ours. Then we had to write to them that why are you not publishing? You wanted certain details, and I shared all the mails which I responded back to the system. Then in the next go, they published it and they apologized for it. So Cochrane review also has its own politicizing and things like that. I'm not getting into it. The second is Veena ji and Vandana ji correctly pointed out. I'm saying this n number of times. The store of iron takes time to come into the system. Why are we keeping a very low level on the fortification? Is we do not want to consume people. We want to consume 2/3 from their food and 1/3 from fortification. We do not want to replace anybody's diet or any such kind of things. And millets and bajra and other millets, we also know that there are a lot of phyto products which will interfere for the absorption. And we as a community person, we do tell them to add a guava fruit or squeeze lemon in their system, in the dal or anything, so that it acts as an enhancer. So these are some of the points which I wanted to bring. And as others are saying, it will not bring any result. I do not agree to that. Without saying and doing something, we shouldn't be speaking on that. There was a request that we should raise the fortification level. At this point of time, I have disagreed to it as a chairperson for fortification for FCCI. And I said, no, we will wait for the results to come. Let at least 1 year go, and then we will review, and then only we should decide about it. Now, the question is why only rice? No, not only rice. Rice has, we have put 3 vitamins into it. The whole thing was done with Dr. Madhavan Nair and myself as calculations when we did for standards. We used 5 staples and we used different vitamins in different things because those were the ones which are going to be consumed by the public. So wheat, rice, oil, milk were the major ones, and double fortified salt. All these are giving little amounts of vitamins and minerals into the system. We want the intestine to be viable and absorb these nutrients in the long range. Thank you.
Thank you. काफी देर हो चुकी है, 1.5 घंटा हम लोग बातें सुन रहे हैं। मेरे हिसाब से ऋचा, अगर मेरा मानना सही है तो हमने अब चर्चा को का अंत करना पड़ेगा।
जी जी, और कोई सवाल अभी नहीं कोई उठा रहा है तो हम
तो अंत में I would again like to go back to the broader points that I began with of for our AIPSN community, AIPSN के साथियों के लिए ये मुद्दा बहुत बड़ी अहमियत रखता है कि किस तरीके के सबूतों के आधार पर नीतियां बनाई जा रही हैं, ये सबूत कितने स्पष्ट हैं, उनमें कितनी संदिग्धता अभी बाकी है, और कितनी संदिग्धता को लेकर कितनी बड़ी नीति कितनी जल्दी कितने बड़े पैमाने पर अपनाई जाएगी, इसके आपस में संबंध कैसे हैं, क्या हैं, इन पर हम लोगों ने वैज्ञानिक दृष्टिकोण की अहमियत मानने वाले लोगों ने, AIPSN के साथियों ने गौर करना चाहिए। The issue for us remains this fundamental one of how much is the evidence, how good is the evidence, how clear is the evidence, and what is the quality of evidence on the basis of which large-scale policies will be implemented. What is the plan for the follow-up of those policies with more evidence? This is an entire category of questions that this issue has brought up for us in the AIPSN community to think carefully about and to look for in our own contexts. It seems to us that there is a fair amount of debate, uncertainty, and lack of clarity about some of these matters. आखिरी मुद्दा मैं उसी व्यापक स्तर पर करना चाह रहा हूं, वो ये है कि किस तरीके से नीतियों पर अमल होगा। Will policy implementation be driven by decentralized people-centric modalities? to what extent is it written into the policy that such modalities will be accepted? That's the other issue for us within the grassroots AIPSN community to deal with. AIPSN के साथियों के लिए किस तरीके से नीतियों पर अमल होगा, क्या बड़ी कंपनियों के द्वारा अमल होगा या छोटे उद्योजकों को किसी हद तक इसमें शिरकत करने का अवसर मिलेगा? इस तरीके के सवाल भी AIPSN के साथियों के बारे में साथियों के जहन में उठना जरूरी है। और इसलिए मैं मानता हूं कि ये आज की जो चर्चा हुई है वो हमारे लिए बहुत महत्वपूर्ण रही है, बहुत अहमियत रखती है। और मैं सभी वक्ताओं को और सभी शिरकत करने वाले चर्चकों को धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं कि आप आए, आपने अपना बहुमूल्य वक्त ज़ाया किया और हमारे साथ बातें की। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। उसी तरीके से मैं AIPSN के साथियों को धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं कि आप आए और एक काफी तकनीकी पेचीदा मुद्दे पर हो रही बहस को आपने इतनी सावधानी से सुना। आशा है कि जैसे AIPSN की बातें आगे जाएंगी हम इस बहस को बार बार याद करेंगे। सभी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, शुक्रिया, नमस्ते। रिचा?
जी बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया इस इंटरेस्टिंग डिस्कशन के लिए। सरकार चर्चा करे ना करे, हम अपनी चर्चाएं जारी रखेंगे पब्लिक फोरम्स पे। जी, इसी के साथ शुक्रिया सत्यजीत, बहुत बहुत आपका और सभी वक्ताओं का भी और सभी जो हमारे साथ जुड़े उनका भी शुक्रिया।
Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. Everybody pro and con was very welcome, and we thank everybody.
Good night. Thank you.